Hey everybody, it's Rockula, and welcome back to Rockula Retrospective. This is day 11 of my VEDA series, 30 Bands in 30 Days. VEDA stands for Vlog Every Day in April, and today's band is Einsturzende Neubauten. My memory is fuzzy on my first exposure to Neubauten, but I think it was on Night Flight. This band was completely alien to anything I'd ever heard before. To me, their music seemed to be nothing but noise. They were banging on metal, using grinders and jackhammers, while some guy screamed into a microphone. They all looked like the survivors of a nuclear war, especially the guy on the mic. He looked like he might die of radiation poisoning at any moment. Needless to say, at that point my artistic sensibilities were woefully underdeveloped, and I did not understand this band one bit. I only started to grasp the concept a little bit later when a friend gave me a copy of Tabula Rasa. The name Einsturzende Neubauten is German, and it means collapsing new buildings. This is not only a reference to the physical structures built by the Nazi regime, but the ideas as well. Young Germans were struggling to free themselves from the stigma of the generation that supported the Nazis, and much of the art from that period reflects it. These kids grew up in a ruined world of demolished buildings and bomb craters, and their artistic view reflected it. Neubauten have the distinction of being one of the first true examples of the industrial genre. I'm not talking about the industrial music most people know of today with the metal riffs over disco beats. I'm talking trash cans, grinders, and jackhammers. They would also record sounds like oil being poured over a fire and then blast it through the PA using a portable Walkman. Many people do not consider this to be music, so for those who don't understand the concept of Neubauten, I would recommend you think of them as sound sculptures. It is a happy coincidence that my first album was Tabula Rasa, because this is my pick for the Neubauten starter kit. The standout tracks on this album are Sea and Head Cleaner. Tabula Rasa represents the transition for the band from noisy stuff to ambient stuff. If you'd like a starter kit for the noisy stuff, I would suggest my second acquisition, which is Strategies Against Architecture. This collection is a best of covering the first phase of Neubauten's development. As the band progressed, they became less chaotic and abrasive. They still used found objects and pieces of scrap metal as instruments, but they seemed to head in more of an ambient direction. Believe it or not, most of this later material is great for make-out music. Although Neubauten's music had a big impact on me, nothing compares on how much the film Halber Mensch changed my life. I digested every frame of this film until it became part of my DNA. I have used this film for video, DJ, and projection countless times, and it mixes well with the film TETSUO the Iron Man. I also included a clip of the song ZNS on the very first episode of Count Rockula's Theater for the Insane. Neubauten was not just a pioneering industrial band, but they were also one of the first to embrace the modern concept of crowdfunding and the sale of downloads instead of albums. I remember seeing them in the early 2000s at First Avenue in Minneapolis, and Blixa remarked from the stage that you would not be seeing much of them in the States from now on because of the monopoly that corporate venues had on touring and the expense of taking their unique show on the road. Since then, their projects have been funded directly by the fans, and they prove the fact that people are still willing to pay for quality music. Neubauten was an extreme band, and they had an extreme impact on my artistic sensibilities. I'd like to hear your thoughts on Einsturzende Neubauten in the comments below, and I'd love it if you liked, subscribed, and shared. Thanks for checking out day 11 of my VEDA series, 30 Bands in 30 Days. Tomorrow's band is another artist who straddled the line between music and noise. That would be Foetus. I'm Rockula, and this is Rockula Retrospective.